What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Guiding Keys, the story of Kingdom Hearts, presented by the Unlockables podcast. As always, I am your host. My name is Eric. I'd like to thank you so much for joining me this week on this Kingdom Hearts adventure as I guide us through the incredible world of Kingdom Hearts and through the mind of series creator and director Tetsuya Nomura. It always means so much to me that you're willing to stop by and check out the show, whether it's Kingdom Hearts or not, and that you're willing to check it out wherever and whenever in time and space that you might be located. Today is episode 2 of Kingdom Hearts 3, and this is probably going to be the second of 4 or 5 parts. This one feels like it's starting to stretch out into a little bit of a lengthier episode because there is a lot to cover, and I think that makes sense because the amount of cutscenes in Kingdom Hearts 3 as opposed to the next largest game, something like Kingdom Hearts 2, is probably 3 or 4 times the amount of cutscenes. I mean, the cutscene movie for Kingdom Hearts 3 is like 10 hours when you Google cutscene movie Kingdom Hearts 3 on YouTube. So we've got a lot more ground to cover. And last episode, in episode 1, we kind of went over all the introductory information. I went through some of my general thoughts, general feelings on this game. We went through the development history, talked about all that good stuff, gameplay, and then we started to talk a little bit about the start of the story. I got us all the way up until the Kingdom Hearts 3 title shot where the story kind of officially starts, and that is where we're going to pick up today. And what you can expect from today's episode, we're going to pretty much run through all the Disney World. So this is the middle meaty chunk of Kingdom Hearts 3. I'll try to get through the Disney Worlds as quickly as possible. I'll make sure I summarize that stuff to the best of my ability while making sure I communicate the most important points to you guys. Because like the other games, and especially in this game, the Disney Worlds, the middle of this game, this exciting stuff really happens in between the Disney Worlds. We get all these cutscenes where things are happening pertaining to the story of Kingdom Hearts. There's some story stuff they kind of try to tie the Disney worlds into the Kingdom Hearts story in some interesting ways. Some worlds, I think they succeed in this better than other worlds, but I'll kind of touch on that as we kind of go through the different worlds, and we'll get us most through the way of the middle of this game. And then episode 3, you can expect us to talk about the ending, the finale of the story of Vanilla Kingdom Hearts 3. We'll talk about the final showdown with Xehanort, the organization, all that stuff we've been building up to. And then I think we'll have an episode 4 kind of tying all the stuff in 3 together while we get ready for the DLC. I think I'll do a tie-in summarization episode for episode 4, and we'll do a DLC episode for episode 5. So that way you guys can hear all of the information, and then I can explain where the DLC adds things, does things differently, gives us different cutscenes here and there, gives us another side of another story, and does more to set the table for the eventual Kingdom Hearts 4, which is the start of a brand new story arc and leaves us in an interesting place. But we still have multiple games after that to cover. We have to get through Dark Road, Kingdom Hearts Dark Road, the other side of the mobile story. And I still have to finish telling you guys the other half of the mobile story. I totally forgot about that because I only told you part 1 of the Kingdom Hearts Unchained X Union Cross, that entire mess, and the second half of that story gets even crazier than anything you're going to hear. Then we have to do Dark Road, and then finally we'll conclude the series with what is the final entry so far, which is Melody of Memory, which is a rhythm game, but it does tie into the Kingdom Hearts story. And from my understanding, I haven't seen too much of it. There are cutscenes. We get information about the forthcoming Kingdom Hearts 4. So it'll be interesting to see how that all ties in. That's the one game in the series that I have not actually played yet. So you'll be getting my reactions for that game pretty much live as I'm forming them while I write the episode. So with that being said, let's not delay too much longer and let's dive into episode 2. Just a quick synopsis of where we were before we start the story officially. We went through the beginning of this game, which we saw young Xehanort and young Ericus playing chess in a room, talking about the coming showdown between darkness and light. We started off in Yen Sid's tower, where Sora obviously has lost his powers, so he went out to find Hercules to figure out how he got his powers back. We went through Olympus, which was like the introductory world. I think it's a fantastic introductory world, kind of ties in. This is the last time we go to Olympus in the series so far. It's one of those worlds that's been in most of the Kingdom Hearts games, so nice to throw that there in the beginning and be like, hey, this is the official end of one journey and the start of something brand new. So we did the stuff in Olympus. We caught up with Riku and Mickey, who were in the Realm of Darkness looking for Aqua. They didn't have any success there. Ended up getting attacked by by the Demon Tower and basically snapped Riku's Keyblade. So we learned that little bit of lore in there. We went back to Yensid's tower, and Sora got new clothes and got the gummy phone. Met up with, got a phone call from Zexion, who is Ienzo, which he has been recompleted from the organization. He's helping figure out all the data that Ansem the Wise put inside Sora, trying to put all that information together. And Sora kind of makes a determination here. He decides that while he's on this quest to find the power of waking, he's also going to see what he can do to wake up Roxas. That is kind of the thing that he latches onto while he goes through the process of finding the power of waking, that he wants to help Roxas become his own person, the way that Riku and Mickey were helping to rescue Aqua. So that's kind of where his journey is going to start officially from Olympus Coliseum, and we're going to pick up episode 2 in a familiar place. We are heading to the sunbeam-draped world of perpetual twilight, Twilight Town. So after going through our first gummy ship section, which I described to you guys in the gameplay as more of like an open world gummy ship concept, you're flying amongst the asteroids and the space in between the worlds, and the Heartless ships are flying around. So really cool concept. I personally like it. I know some people thought it was a little bit boring. The gummy ship sections have always felt like extra and been hard to nail down, but I think this one works pretty well, and there's some pretty chunky, meaty gummy ship mission quest stuff for you to do specifically in between going to the worlds that culminates in a secret boss fight against the Schwarzgeist from Einhander. I almost said Urgeist, but that's the wrong game. It's the Schwarzgeist from Einhander. So if you're a fan of Einhander, I would go just look up Kingdom Hearts 3 Schwarzgeist fight. I don't know how to spell that, but if you just do like Kingdom Hearts 3 secret gummy boss, you should be able to find it. It's a really cool homage to kind of a deep cut for Square Enix. But anyways, I digress. So we get to Twilight Town. That's the first world we're going to. Sora, Donald, and Goofy arrive in Twilight Town on the trail of Roxas. This is the first place that they think to go to because it is the place that Roxas is most connected to. Remember, in Kingdom Hearts 2, they have the picture of Xehanort, Pence, Olette, and Roxas from the digital world. And as they begin walking the familiar streets toward the Tram Commons, they kind of discuss everything that's been going on just in general over the last couple of games. We kind of get some summarization exposition here. Sora mentions how he saw Roxas in the Sleeping Worlds during Dream Drop Distance and felt how painful his memories were. And Goofy tells him about the events of Recoded where Roxas was present as well in the digital worlds, and kind of tying in the loop somewhat forcefully into that story. But as luck would have it, at the mention of Roxas's name, however, Dusk Nobodies appear, almost as if drawn by the mention of their former master. Remember, Roxas was a member of the organization. They commanded the Lesser Nobodies. So the Lesser Dusk Nobodies would have been subservient to Roxas, even though we never really see him utilize them at all. After fighting all of them off, the heroes hear a commotion down the street, and they turn around in time to see their old friend Xehanort, Pence, and Olette running away from a column of Shadow Heartless, which is the demon tower we saw from the Realm of Darkness, the same swirling mass that Riku and Mickey fought, the same swirling mass of Shadow Heartless that Aqua and Mickey fought at the end of 0.2 when Aqua got trapped further in the Dark Realm. They offer Sora a greeting as they run by, with Sora telling them that he'll obviously handle this as he draws his Keyblade. After a brief battle with the swirling mass of Heartless, you don't defeat it, you just knock some of its health off and then it flies away. So it's just kind of like a boss fight that just kind of takes up space, I guess. Sora, Donald, and Goofy catch up with the Twilight Town trio and explain to them that they're looking for Roxas. Well, the three friends confirm they've never had an in-real-life relationship with Roxas. Donald presents to them the picture of the four of them from the virtual Twilight Town, like I said, that they got in Kingdom Hearts 2 from Riku. And Pence compares it to the same picture that they have of just the three of them. So the three friends agree to help in the search for Roxas because they think he seems pretty cool. They would like, if the virtual them knew him as a friend, they want to know him as a friend. And suggest that Sora checks out the old mansion first while they kind of check around town just for any clues, I guess. I don't know. They're like, maybe if Roxas knew virtual other people, maybe other real people will know him. The logic doesn't really make sense there. But we head off towards the haunted mansion. We've been there a bunch of times. It's the iconic location in Twilight Town. And as Sora, Donald, and Goofy traverse the woods on the way to the mansion, they stumble across who else? Remy from Ratatouille, who was trapped in a tree surrounded by Heartless. And after rescuing him, we get a nice little cutscene. They help him collect his fruit that was scattered all around before continuing on to the old mansion. I know it might seem kind of like a throwaway thing. That'll circle back around in just a second. So bear with me if you want more from Remy from the Ratatouille movie. They arrive at the mansion, and Sora's gaze is naturally drawn to the room on the second level, where white curtains are kind of blowing in like a wind, even though the window's not open. And that's where Naminé would sit and often draw. And we kind of get a brief flash where we see Roxas standing in the same spot simultaneously as Sora. And it lasts for just a second because then Sora feels like a hand on his shoulder suddenly as the Twilight Town trio has caught up with them and kind of gives them a fright in the process. After Pence reports that asking around town didn't produce any leads, they all decide to head into the mansion, and as before in Kingdom Hearts 2, they make their way down to the sublayer where Ansem the Wise's computer terminal was located, along with the entrance to the virtual Twilight Town. Pence runs over to the computer using the sea salt ice cream password, as again from Kingdom Hearts 2. All this stuff was established in Kingdom Hearts 2, so we're just kind of running by it. So if you're listening to this episode, you're like, what the hell is going on? Go back and listen to the Kingdom. I just start the series from the beginning because all this stuff is starting to tie in, and especially in Kingdom Hearts 3, it starts to tie in. So Pence accesses the computer. He attempts to access the transporter to the virtual Twilight Town, but the computer screen is flashing red with a data error warning, and Pence says that the transporter has been protected. Well, when this happens, as if on cue, Sora's gummy phone begins to ring, and he answers a call from Ienzo, who happened to see the group log in from his terminal back in the Radiant Garden Lab. So the two terminals are obviously connected because they both belong to Ansem the Wise. The team starts to collab together, and Pence and Ienzo take point to solve the issue of the block transporter. They manage to get a network set up, and Ienzo gets to work changing the permissions so that he can access the data. They're not looking to go to the virtual Twilight Town. They just need the data which generated the virtual Twilight Town, I guess, which doesn't really make any sense that they're trying to activate the teleporter, but whatever. By analyzing the virtual Twilight Town, Ienzo says it can help him decipher Ansem's code more quickly, and it may help in their bid to restore Roxas. But there's one other warning that Ienzo gives them that's kind of unrelated before Sora hangs up. He explains how himself, Alias, and Dylan, who we know as Lexaeus, and Zaldin, former organization members, who were also recompleted, they went out to try and find their other recompleted associate, Evan, who we know as Vexen from the original Organization 13. He was in Chain of Memories. He seems to have gone missing, and Ienzo worries that he may have rejoined Xehanort and the new organization. Sora agrees to be on the lookout, and after that, he hangs up. While Hayner and Olette go off to work, Pence remains behind to kind of man the fort, to start doing computer stuff with Ienzo, to start copying over the data, whatever they're doing. So Sora, Donald, and Goofy begin to make their way out of the mansion and back towards town. Unfortunately, it wouldn't be a peaceful walk back into town because who should decide to just show up and be waiting for them at the gates to the mansion? It's none other than Ansem, Seeker of Darkness, one of the aspects of Xehanort, who is quickly joined by his counterpart Xemnas, the Nobody, the leader of Organization 13. So really cool to see these two kind of side by side and share a scene together. I mean, we've seen them before, but this is the first time where they share a speaking scene together with Sora, and it's a pretty cool scene, seeing both of these aspects who are major bosses from the first couple games have this conversation with Sora.
So, you think you can bring Roxas back?
Ansem! Xemnas!
Roxas should never have existed in the first place. What you seek is impossible.
Roxas does exist. His heart's inside my heart.
And in the unlikely event you did manage to separate the two, where is it you think you can put his heart?
Well, Roxas used to live in the other Twilight Town, right? So, I'm just gonna put him back there.
Do you even realize what you are saying? The other Twilight Town is just data.
A heart can live anywhere, even inside data. There are hearts all around us.
Ansem and Xemnas used to be part of the same person, right? But look, now they exist separately just fine. If they can do it, then I don't see any reason why you and Roxas can't find a way.
Oh, yeah!
Yeah, you tell him, Captain Goofy.
In that case, by all means. Nothing would please us more than Roxas's return, of course.
You wish? He'll never answer to you again.
Still so blind. A nobody is what's left behind when one gives his heart to darkness. There is only one way to bring Roxas back, which is for you to give your heart up as well. Sora, have you finally decided to call upon the darkness?
What?
Go on then. The shadows are never out of reach. Now, set your heart free.
Wait!
Sora!
It's not darkness. Not if it helps him.
Sora doesn't really have a response to this, and never being ones to be able to leave on a subtle note, the two aspects of Xehanort summon Heartless to fight the trio before they take their leave. After the brief skirmish, Sora kind of clenches his fist, and obviously letting the words of Xemnas and Ansem get to him, he remembers what Hercules told him about when he was deciding to stay on Earth with Meg, about doing it with all his heart. And Sora kind of clutches his fist, and he doubles down on his determination to help Roxas, regardless of how impossible it seems right now. We get a couple other things that happen, relatively minor things in Twilight Town. Upon going back to town, we run into Donald's uncle, Scrooge McDuck, Uncle Scrooge once again, and this is where the plot thread with Remy from Ratatouille comes full circle. Remy is the head chef of Scrooge's new restaurant in town, which is called Le Grand Bistro. They just call it the Bistro, and this is where the cooking mechanic comes into play. So you'll go and cook food from ingredients you found, and Remy will do the shtick that he did in Ratatouille, where he'll control Sora by pulling on his hair and make Sora cook the meal. And that's how you get these meals that are like temporary stat boosters that you can eat and have a temporary stat boost when you go into a boss fight. In my 2 playthroughs of Kingdom Hearts, I've never used the stat boosting food, but I imagine when you do like a critical mode playthrough, the food might be the difference between winning and losing in a more challenging playthrough. So yeah, that's where the cooking minigame comes in. Before they depart Twilight Town, Hayner, Pence, and Olette catch back up with them for one last conversation where Sora asks them to wish for Roxas' return with all their hearts to help him, and they agree to do so. We see one last scene in Twilight Town before leaving. Xemnas and Ansem are standing on the roof of a building looking down on our heroes when out of a dark portal steps Xigbar, or Brag, or I don't really know what he's calling himself now. This is kind of a weird dynamic because we're used to seeing Xemnas in charge, and in this scene, Xigbar kind of scolds Ansem and Xemnas for being too obvious with their clues and warns them against underestimating Sora, as they've all done but many times before.
Aren't you making it a little too obvious?
We were instructed to guide him.
Yes, just look at them. They wouldn't get far if we did not spell it out.
Fair enough. But let's not forget how many times Sora still managed to rain on our parade.
If he wavers from the path we lay, we destroy him.
But in that case, we'll have to find ourselves another vessel.
That is why we never have just one iron in the fire.
Xemnas assures them they have backup plans for whatever happens this time. And I think this sequence is really interesting because, like I said, in the old organization, Xigbar is ranked below Xemnas. Xemnas is calling the shots. And now he almost sort of gives them orders, or at least seems that he's on equal ranking, equal footing with them. And we saw this in Dream Drop Distance, too. And we saw this in Birth by Sleep, where Braig knew Xehanort before he fragmented into all these other people. So Braig has kind of been around for this whole thing for a while, which is interesting when you think about it, and we might learn more about that later. So the gang leaves Twilight Town and we transition to a new scene as we get a sweeping camera shot of a lush green forest. And as the scene changes, we hear a voice narrating, and we quickly deduce that it's Kairi. And we see her sitting on a log. She's writing to Sora, kind of informing him and expositing to everything that is going on, and how her and Lee, formerly Axel, have been training with Merlin to become Keyblade wielders. And the wizard took them to a space or pocket dimension that doesn't matter, and they can train as much as they need to. Kind of guess maybe like it's a hyperbolic time chamber for Dragon Ball Z fans out there. I don't know. Merlin's able to do this just because because Kairi and Lee need somewhere to be where they can train, and it's like, oh, they had enough time to train so that they can be like involved in the last conflict or whatever. Anyways, we'll get into that when that happens. But she encourages Sora to remain his happy, cheerful self no matter what happens in his journey, saying that there's no heart his smile can't reach. It's very sweet. She also mentions in the letter how Lee will sometimes space out when he's looking at her, and when she asks him what is wrong, he snaps back to reality, and he tells her that he feels like he's forgetting something. And remember, this is where the Kingdom Hearts 358 Days threads tie in. Xion looked like Kairi, and Lee's memories of Xion are still etched on his heart despite everyone having forgotten her, because when she was defeated, that's what she told Roxas would happen. She said, when you defeat me, everybody will forget about me, because her memories are technically linked to Sora's memories, and that's why it would happen. So he's trying to remember something that he experienced, and he doesn't remember Xion, but he feels like he's forgetting something because remember, like that, those memories are still etched on his heart, even if he forgot her. Anyways, more about that later. Suddenly, Lee approaches, and we get a really, really touching scene between him and Kairi. They have a couple of scenes together in this game, and it's not like lovey-dovey, like shipping stuff. It's just really tender scenes between Kairi, who is just a very kind heart, and Lee, who is very clearly conflicted, dealing with his own things. And Lee comes up and asks Kairi if she's writing, and he says, yes, she's writing a letter to Sora, but it's more for her. This way she feels like she's talking to him. It's not a letter that she wants to send out. It's just kind of like a diary, like she's pretending to talk to Sora. Lee then presents Kairi with a sea salt ice cream bar, which he asked Merlin to get for him, and that's just the cutest thing, right? Because the sea salt ice cream tradition was the symbol of Roxas, Axel, and Xion's friendship in 358 Days. So the fact that he's sharing one with her is his way of letting her know that they're friends and he cares about her. And it just so happens to be a setting sun at the time of this cutscene, which is just, like chef's kiss for like the symbology, the sea salt ice cream trio, all that stuff that ties into 358 Days. It's an amazing scene that you don't really appreciate if you haven't done the entire series and watch these friends spend countless days after their work in the organization watching the sunset. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Like I said, the subtlety of the scene, it's so enhanced when you know the backstory of the games. And that's the little moments that pay off when you do have the knowledge of all the games. As Lee and Kyrie sit there and eat the ice cream, Lee drifts off into thought again, surely thinking of Roxas and trying to remember the thing or the person he just can't seem to remember. As the orange glow of the sunset washes over them, Lee shades his eyes and sees for just a brief moment the blurry visage of a girl with black hair before it returns to Kyrie, and he audibly gasps before dropping his ice cream, and a couple of tears involuntarily fall from his eyes. And Kyrie notices this, rushes over to him, but Lee kind of brushes it off as, oh, it's something in his eye. He makes a quick exit. He's like, I'm going to take my leave. I'm going to get out of here because he's dealing with some stuff in this whole scene. He makes one request of Kyrie, though, and he asks her to call him Axel from now on because that's what his friends knew him as. It doesn't say that specifically in the scene, but all of his friends never knew him as Lee. All of his friends knew him as Axel. So that's what he wants to be referred to as kind of a symbology of that friendship that he's hoping to get back. It's a great scene. There's a lot of really small touches in there that you notice if you've played the other games and understand the story. It's fantastic scene. Next, we transition over to Riku and Mickey over in Hollow Bastion. After this touching Axel and Kyrie scene, we go back to Riku and Mickey, who are retracing the steps of Aqua's journey. That was the suggestion of Master Yen Sid is what they should do. They're trying to find some answers as to where Terra might have gone, as well as how to reach Aqua in the realm of darkness. They come to the courtyard in Radiant Garden where Aqua had her final confrontation with Terra Xehanort when he was possessed by Xehanort in Birth by Sleep. This was the spot that she fell into the realm of darkness after diving in to save Terra. Remember, she dives in, gives him the armor and her Keyblade glider, and he flies out of the realm of darkness. And this is where Mickey kind of exposits and recounts all the events of how Terra Xehanort was found by Ansem the Wise, how Terra Xehanort had amnesia, how he took Xehanort in to be his apprentice, and all the stuff that kind of leads into Kingdom Hearts 1. When Xehanort becomes Ansem's apprentice, they split themselves into two beings, one heartless, one nobody. The nobodies found the organization, all that kind of stuff. Super condensed exposition of the plot threads for most of the series. Again, go back and listen to the earlier episodes. You'll get all of this stuff. I'll put the cutscene in here just so it can condense and you can get some of your memories back in case you've listened to these. Haven't listened to episode 1 since 2 years ago because that's about how long it's been.
So this is the place
where Aqua fell into the realm of darkness after she dove in to save Terra.
Yeah. She said he was acting strange.
Strange how, exactly?
She sensed darkness in him. And they ended up getting into a big fight.
Right. And in the aftermath, the two of them disappeared. Around the same time, the guards found a stranger with white hair lying unconscious here in the square. A man calling himself Xehanort.
Ansem the Wise took the stranger in, but that was a mistake. Xehanort betrayed his master, stole his research, and along with his fellow apprentices, separated his heart from his body. Xehanort's heart took his master's name, Ansem, and traveled to the past to give his younger self instructions. He even briefly had control of you. His empty body stayed in the present, took the name Xemnas, and founded Organization 13. Their goal was to prepare 13 vessels for Xehanort's heart.
Until we put an end to the organization. But all the while, young Xehanort had been visiting the future to choose 13 vessels of his own. Hearts with strong enough ties to him to begin a new organization. The real Organization 13. And now they're looking for a fight with us. But what happened to Terra? I thought you said that Aqua saved him.
Yep, She did. The problem is we didn't notice. You remember the end of the Mark of Mastery exam, when Master Xehanort made his grand return? That's the Xehanort I remember. He was already a pretty old man then. But how do you explain Ansem and Xemnas, his Heartless, and his Nobody? Isn't it strange how young they look? Why aren't they old men? It's because Xehanort was using a different body when the split happened. That face from the portrait I mentioned? It wasn't just some stranger that Ansem the Wise took under his wing. It was the young man whose body Master Xehanort possessed.
No way! That was Terra? Master Xehanort was using Terra?
Yup. Master Xehanort told us another on our list belonged to him. He was talking about Terra. Turns out, Aqua saved more than just her friend that day.
Okay, but Master Xehanort is an old man again now. Where did Terra's body go?
It's 'cause Master Xehanort's collecting vessels. He claimed to have 2 of our 7 lights. We got Sora back, but Terra must still be on Xehanort's side.
He's with Organization 13? We should warn Sora.
Yup, and Merlin too.
The cutscene also covers some of the events from Dream Drop Distance, letting young Xehanort what was going on to the possession of Riku, and Mickey makes a few interesting notes about how Xemnas and Ansem look young, while the original Master Xehanort looks old. He says that Xehanort performed the split while possessing the body of a young man, which was that of Terra. That is why Xemnas and Ansem both look so young. Again, we already know this. We connected these plot threads a long time ago. This is Nomura's way of connecting the dots for you if you hadn't figured it all out yet, because it gets a little confusing. Mickey also finally connects the dots back to what Master Xehanort said in Dream Drop Distance, that one of their lights belonged to him. Seeing that they rescued Sora from his clutches, Mickey can only logically deduce that the reason they can't find Terra is because he's with Master Xehanort. But how can all these aspects of Xehanort be in the same place at the same time, you ask? Probably time travel. Probably the thing that was established in Dream Drop Distance. Probably the thing that's the most controversial aspect of the story so far. But I think we'll get to that later because I have a lot of threads to keep connecting. So that's really the only purpose of that scene, is for Mickey to be able to exposit and connect the dots to what's been happening throughout the entire series as they retrace the steps for what Aqua was doing. And they need something for Riku and Mickey to be doing to make it seem like they're making progress, while Sora is the main focal point of the adventure. We're finally off on the Disney portion of this game, and we're spit back out into the gummy ship space where we can choose to go to a couple of different places. You can go to a couple of different worlds first, depending on where you'd like to go. I think you have 2 options. Yeah, you have 2 options in this portion of the world. You can either go to the Toy Box, which is the Toy Story world, or you can go to the Kingdom of Corona. Me personally, I always went to the Toy Box first, just because I'm a huge Toy Story fan. It was one of my favorite movies growing up. But while I was putting this together, I always watch a compilation of cutscene movies put together by the amazing community on YouTube. And the compilation I was watching, I remember I watched, the order was the Kingdom of Corona came first, which is the Disney movie Tangled. So I'm going to start with the Kingdom of Corona first, and then we'll move over on the Toy Story in this section of the story. I'll go through the major story beats of the Disney worlds, and I'll focus on their plots with some relatively minor KH plot threads kind of tossed in there, because there's some KH stuff that happens here, but it's mostly covered up by the Disney portion of the stories, which, as you know, most of the stories in the Disney worlds are just reframed retellings of what happens in the actual Disney movies. Again, this is Tangled, which is called the Kingdom of Corona. mini rant here because we're getting all of the movies in this style, in this animation style, the early to mid 2010s Disney animation style. So that would be Tangled, Big Hero 6, and Frozen, which are like the big three in that style. Out of all those movies, I think Tangled is the best. I just think it's the most well put together movie. I actually like Frozen the least out of all these because it just sucked up so much of the air in the room when it came out, and the others don't get talked about as much. I think Tangled is great. I think Big Hero 6 is great. Big Hero 6 doesn't get talked about nearly as much when you're just talking about general Disney movies. I know Tangled does. I like Tangled a lot more than I like Frozen. So just so you know where I stand on that really important position. So like I said, instead of going beat by beat, I'll summarize the plot elements of the Disney story as succinctly as I can, and I'll elaborate on some more of the Kingdom Hearts elements when they happen. So Sora and his friends arrive in the Kingdom of Corona, enjoying the beautiful weather and scenery of the forest they find themselves in when they stumble across charming rogue Flynn Rider, who's being pursued by the Heartless, which they intervene and help him escape. After finishing the fight with the Heartless, they take off after Flynn, and in their search, with some help of Sora's clumsiness, they discover the secret path to the boxed-style Blood Gulch Canyon that hides Rapunzel's tower. No way out of it except that one cave. And at the time, they see Flynn and Rapunzel climbing out of the tower, and we see from a cutscene that this happens basically how it does in the movie. Rapunzel captures Flynn, ties him up, cuts a deal with him, agreeing to return his satchel to him, which contains a very expensive crown, if he takes her to see the Lantern Festival at the nearby kingdom. Flynn decides to enlist the help of Sora, Donald, and Goofy as his sidekicks, who just so happened to be there when they climb down to help him get Rapunzel to the kingdom. There's some really touching scenes that play out as Rapunzel discovers the outside world. That happen like as you're exploring the world. Like Sora can use his magic and skills to help her interact with the world. Like he can use wind magic to kind of like blow some flowers in the air. And Sora kind of also reminisces as they go along on his journey and how scary it is to set foot into a big new world for the first time. And that he was lucky that Donald and Goofy were there for him when he set out on his adventure, where they all kind of ran into each other when Sora's Islands got destroyed. We get a flashback to the tower where Mother Gothel, that's the witch that kidnapped Rapunzel as a baby, that's pretending to be her mother. She's furiously tearing apart the entire interior, knowing that Rapunzel is gone. When she finds Flynn's wanted poster, and who should show up in the middle of all this but none other than a member of Organization 13 offering to help Mother Gothel find Rapunzel. And this member of Organization 13 removes his hood and reveals himself to be none other than Marluxia from Chain of Memories, who we haven't seen since Chain of Memories. Marluxia, the pink-haired, scythe-wielding traitor who originally plotted to take control of the organization in the events of Chain of Memories, the one responsible for Sora losing his memories. That whole arc of the story he was involved with, he was just killed off in the second game. He was the boss in the second game. One of the few games where there's like a non-Xehanort aspect as a boss. So, Chain of Memories. Marluxia, back in the picture, back in Organization 13. Obviously an aspect of Xehanort. We'll be running into him very shortly. During everybody's journey to the kingdom, back with Sora, Donald, Goofy, Rapunzel, and Flynn, they run into some new nobody enemies they've never seen before. Scary-looking hooded figures that are floating entities that wield scythes. After dealing with them, they deduce that the organization must be close by, and this is when Marluxia appears out of a portal, introducing himself to Sora for the first time since Chain of Memories, which again, Sora would not remember him because he lost his memories of Castle Oblivion. Those portions of his memories were not restored by Ansem and Naminé when they were restoring his memory in Kingdom Hearts 2.
You know who uses nobodies?
Yeah. I'm surprised we haven't seen him. I know you're there. Come out, you has-beens.
Has-beens? Now why would you say that?
Because bossing around nobodies? That's the old organization. Why? Are you in the real one too? Good for you.
My name is Marluxia, and yes, that is correct. How interesting it is to see you again, Sora.
Again? You know him?
A shame you've no memory of me, because I remember you exceedingly well. Although, it's those memories I'd soon erase.
I don't know what you're saying.
Nor should you. Nor will you ever, for that matter. Now, if you'll permit me, I've come to ask a favor.
Favor? You have got to be kidding me.
Please hear what I have to say. I'm sure you've noticed. Well, perhaps not. But you should know that maiden with you, Rapunzel, is the very light of this world. I would see you guard her from its dark horrors.
Huh? Starting with you, right?
All the organization seeks is balance. You must understand, our ultimate objective is not to clash with the light. We seek to complement it. Use that Keyblade to keep Rapunzel safe.
Before Marluxia departs after taunting Sora, basically, he makes a request of Sora, asking him to use his Keyblade to keep Rapunzel safe, because she is the very light of this world. Interesting thing to consider there. Sora, Donald, and Goofy attempt to catch up with Rapunzel and Flynn when they run into Mother Gothel, who plays the old woman mother card to try and manipulate them. And Sora just kind of like plays dumb, and when she realizes that they've lost Rapunzel as well, she turns a cold shoulder to them and tells them, "Oh, I'll find her myself," and just kind of storms off. And Sora, Donald, and Goofy don't even really think anything of it. After this, we get a series of events that coincide with the movie. We run into the ever dutiful horse Maximus, who is pursuing Flynn Rider. He decides to accompany them. We finally reach the kingdom proper, and we take Rapunzel into the castle town, where she gets her massive length of hair braided and proceeds to dance in the town square with Sora and the townsfolk. Flynn and Rapunzel have a touching moment on the boat when all the lanterns go up as she sees her wish fulfilled, and finally allowing Flynn, aka Eugene, to get the satchel containing the item that he was after. He rows to shore when the lantern show is over and tells Rapunzel to just wait there while he takes care of some unfinished business really quick. Meanwhile, Sora, Donald, and Goofy watch the lanterns from the docks in town when nobody's appeared to distract them, because nobody's have the worst timing. Meanwhile, on the shore where Rapunzel is waiting, Marluxia appears and manipulates her into believing Flynn ran off with the crown. Using nobodies, he chases her right into the arms of Mother Gothel, who is looking for her, and they both make their way back to the tower. So Marluxia appears to have succeeded in his goal of reuniting Mother Gothel with Rapunzel to go back to the tower. Sora, Donald, and Goofy see this happen as they arrive on the shore to see what's going on, and before they can call out to her, Marluxia appears to intervene, telling him this is what's best for her.
Hey, isn't that Rapunzel? Wait! Rapunzel! Oh.
Show some decorum.
You again!
Marluxia!
The girl has found her dear mother. You should let them be.
And why is that?
Because Rapunzel is far too important. Atop her tower, she must remain out of sight and live out her days with Mother Gothel.
And never see anyone else?
But that's like locking her in some prison.
That is exactly what it's like. Rapunzel's hair holds the powerful magic of healing. And yes, Mother Gothel wants it for herself, as do others. And if Mother Gothel's actions will protect Rapunzel, preserve her, then she is doing the organization a favor.
What favor?
Let's say she's keeping Rapunzel on the shelf for us. An extra pawn in case you fail to find the remaining Guardians of Light. And we have occasion to call on other Hearts of Light instead. A new 7 hearts to fill out the ranks.
New 7 hearts?
Yes. 7 who inherited the princess's light after their role was fulfilled.
So you don't care about her? You guys just want Rapunzel for your own purposes. Well, you're done here.
He says that Rapunzel is one of the new 7 princesses of heart. Remember, we haven't talked about this concept since Kingdom Hearts 1. The 7 princesses were needed to open the door in that game. And the 7 princesses were Jasmine, Alice from Wonderland, Snow White, Cinderella, Belle, Kyrie, and I think I'm forgetting one other one. So please forgive me, but there were 7 of them. And he refers to Rapunzel as one of the new 7 princesses of heart. The organization are keeping tabs on her as a backup plan in case Sora and the others fail to assemble the Guardians of Light, because they're looking for the clash with the Guardians of Light to forge the Keyblade. But obviously the princesses have pure hearts, so they can just use the 7 princesses as their 7 lights. He then uses some weird like Febreze scent magic and makes Sora black out. We then get the scene where Rapunzel puts it all together, remembering she is the lost princess of the kingdom and that Mother Gothel kidnapped her and kept her secluded to keep the magic of Rapunzel's hair for herself. Realizing the jig is up, Mother Gothel produces an ominous dark aura from we've seen when people give their heart over to darkness. Back on the beach, Flynn and Maximus find Sora unconscious, and after a couple of licks from Maximus, Sora wakes up and they all rush towards the tower to save Rapunzel from Mother Gothel. Nobody's appeared to block their way, and the 3 heroes jump off to deal with them while Flynn rushes on ahead. Flynn enters the tower. It's an obvious trap to save Rapunzel. He gets shanked by Mother Gothel, and Rapunzel agrees to go with Mother Gothel if she can use her healing power to save Flynn. And she says she'll go with her, she'll try not to escape, she'll stay with her forever. But as she goes to heal him, Flynn uses a shard of glass, or like broken mirror, that happened to be on the floor during their tuffle, or their fight or whatever. I don't know. What are fucking words? I don't know. Cuts off all Rapunzel's hair, and it renders its healing magic innate, giving her short brown hair. And Mother Gothel screams as she rapidly ages, and in her anguish falls out the window where she disintegrates before she can hit the ground. Marluxia then appears at the base of the tower with Sora, saying that this was for the best, as Gothel's darkness would only cast a shadow on Rapunzel's light. He uses some BS nobody magic to like turn her cloak into a giant heartless known as the Grim Guardianess. And this is like a tree-like monster with 4 arms and a snake body covered in tree bark. It's a pretty cool design, matches the world well. And this fight, obviously a boss fight, is a continuation of the scale of the Titan fights from the Hercules world. This fight utilizes the entire area outside of Rapunzel's tower, and even has certain phases and sequences that see the Heartless climb to the top of the tower that you must then climb up there and fight at the peak of the tower, which is like super cool. Peak anime for sure. But Sora, Donald, and Goofy defeat the Heartless and reach the top of the tower in time to see Flynn's life slipping away and them basically saying their goodbyes. The animation switches a bit here. It becomes a little more polished, a little more professional, less like Unreal Engine video gamey, more what looks like a really, really good Disney or Pixar movie would be. A little more high end for the closing moment of this world. And we all know how this happens. Her hair can't heal, but she cries a single tear. It falls from her cheek, lands on Flynn, it heals him, and this is basically the happy ending, all but secured. All of the characters reconvene at the base of the tower. They say their goodbyes. Flynn, who's now known as Eugene Fitzherbert, as you know from the movie, and Rapunzel are off to the kingdom to meet her real family, and Sora must continue his journey for the power of waking. There's one last scene in the Kingdom of Corona, and we get back to our friends Maleficent and Pete. They are up above on the cliffside, observing what is happening. Pete complains about how their search for the box is turned up empty here as well, and questions if it's even real, all to which Maleficent offers an interesting response. She knows it exists because it is etched, which we've heard young Xehanort say this before about his destined path when he would return to his own timeline at the end of Dream Drop Distance. So Maleficent knows more than what she's letting on here. And the fact that she said it is etched is interesting. Keep that in the back of your mind. Post Kingdom of Corona, we find our heroes back on the gummy ship. Sora is still feeling relatively down about the power of waking, and he's wondering out loud about how he's going to get Roxas's heart out of himself, saying that he needs a body. Upon Goofy's advice, he decides to call Ienzo for an update, but As he pulls out the phone and goes to make the call, he gets an incoming call from Riku and Mickey and pitches them his conundrum about Roxas needing a body to be whole. As they sit there puzzled, Riku suddenly remembers something from the way back in the beginning of our Guiding Keys playthrough. And maybe this is fitting considering that Marluxia was the one that we dealt with in the first Disney World we went to. In Chain of Memories, one of the plot points in that game was replicas, the replica program. Remember how the original organization made replica copies of people? They made one of Riku in Chain of Memories that acted based on the memories Naminé gave it. And we learned some fascinating lore behind the replicas, things that we haven't even thought about since the second game in the series. The replicas were developed by the original Organization 13 to be vessels to hold hearts in. Once a heart is inside a replica, it becomes indistinguishable from a real person. And a replica takes on the form of whose heart is inside it. Because Sora asks if they put Roxas's heart in a replica, would it still look like him? And yes, it would. Mickey decides to ask Ienzo about the potential for using replicas and what became of them during the organization's testing. And they also theorize that the current true organization might be after them as well, making Vexen, or i.e. Evan, the replica's creator, because that was his role in Chain of Memories. He was the replica research guy, a very important piece of the puzzle right now, and might help explain how all the members of the organization have bodies if they time traveled. Because if they traveled through time as hearts, if they had replicas waiting and their hearts just entered a replica, they just become a real person that looked like they used to, which is kind of stupid when you think about it. And I'll talk about my feelings on that specific plot point when we tie everything in together. Both parties hang up the phone here. Riku and Mickey decide to check out Ansem's study, while Sora, Donald, and Goofy are set to continue their journey, and they are asked by Mickey to keep an eye out for Terra. Moving right along to the Toy Box world, which is the world of Toy Story. The Toy Story level starts off with one of the coolest Easter eggs probably in the entire series. It's an in-universe advertisement for a video game in the Toy Story world called Verum Rex, which is Latin for true king. Like I said, I won't go too much into theory crafting in this series, but Verum Rex features characters that are loose representations of Nomura's canceled dream project, Final Fantasy Versus 13, which we all know eventually would become Final Fantasy 15, which is why they named this in-universe game Verum Rex, aka True King, because 15 is a false king. There's a lot here, but I will not theory craft. But this Verum Rex stuff kind of ties in to some stuff that's going to happen at the end of this game. The main character of this in-universe game, Verum Rex, is Yozora. Yozora. And Yozora has heterochromia. He has two different color eyes. But the interesting thing about Yozora is he bears a striking resemblance not only to Riku, but also to Noctis from 15. And there's a girl there that he's diving to save, bears a striking resemblance to Final Fantasy XV's Luna Freya. Very, very interesting that Nomura would decide to include this, because this was like his dream project. So very, very interesting. Keep this in the back of your mind. We'll come back to some of this stuff later in the story of Kingdom Hearts 3. We see that this commercial was playing out on a TV on a desk inside of a child's room when the TV is abruptly turned off by accident by everyone's favorite toy sheriff, Woody. Amid Rex the dinosaurs protesting that he was watching that, toys that are divers, Heartless, appear in the room below, and Woody dives to kind of cover on the bed, and he tackles Rex and Ham, and they all kind of take cover. Who should join them but Buzz Lightyear? And with a bit of exposition, we figure out that this isn't the first time that this has happened, that these heartless diver toys have showed up, but they decide that today is the day that they have to take action and take care of these intruders. Meanwhile, Sora, Donald, and Goofy, having just arrived in the world, emerge from under the bed where they had landed, shocked to see how small they were in relation to the room and their new and arguably best forms in this game as toys. After some talk about the world order, Goofy spots Heartless roaming around on the other side of the room. The three heroes take off to engage them. On the bed above, however, the toys led by Woody are about to jump into action when Buzz stops them, seeing the three heroes charge into battle to fight the Heartless. I think this world rules. I love the design of it. It's so cool. You feel like a toy. Sora's toy design, Donald and Goofy's toy designs are incredibly awesome. And I actually got action figures. I think it was Play Arts action figures of the three of them as their Toy Story forms for the Kingdom Hearts 3 pre-order bonus. It's pretty cool. It hasn't been opened, still in the package. It's on my shelf. With this story setup, I'll do the same thing as I did in Kingdom of Corona. I'll highlight main story beats. Also, fun fact, Woody is not Tom Hanks in this, and Buzz is not Tim Allen. Obviously, they couldn't get them to do their voices for this level of performance, I would guess. Andy's toys go to greet them at the end of the confrontation, while Woody and Buzz kind of regard them with suspicion at first. Rex and Ham, however, mistake Sora for Yozora, the hero from the Verum Rex video game. Rex manages to convince Woody and Buzz that he must be there to help find all their missing friends and to figure out all the weird stuff that's going on in the world, like the heartless strangers, and Buzz's laser is actually like a laser that does damage. Buzz isn't convinced, however. He's very skeptical, but despite his skepticism, Woody and the others welcome them with open arms. After just a little bit of conversation, they start to discuss the things that have been going on. Woody mentions how one day half their toy friends plus the real humans in this world, Andy, Molly, and Mom, disappeared one day, and then the Heartless showed up shortly after. Buzz also mentions they saw a person in a black coat, which can only mean Organization 13. We then see the toy soldiers come back, Sarge and the Green Army men. The toy soldiers report that the black-coated individual was last sighted at Galaxy Toys, the massive toy store which is further in town. After agreeing to work together, they all set off to find out what is going on with this world, find the toys' friends, and figure out what the cloaked individual is doing. This level fucking rules. Galaxy Toys is a marvel. It's such a fun level. It's got amazing design. It has like an interconnected central hub with themed toy stores littered amongst its 3 floors. This is hands down the best level in the game. It's fantastic. When they enter, there are massive new robot toys on display, which are known as Gigas? And Sora asks like an insanely philosophical question for this world. He asks why that toy doesn't move when Woody and Buzz and all the other toys are moving. And Woody simply states that it just probably hasn't figured out how to yet. Which, like, the fuck? They just figure it out how to be sentient one day? Like, that's insane. Insane Toy Story lore being teasing in Kingdom Hearts 3. Sora's just like, why aren't they moving? Woody's just like, I don't know, they just haven't moved yet. Like, insane. Absolutely insane. After this comment, though, out of nowhere, a voice says, I can make them move for you. And who else but fucking young Xehanort is standing on the gigantic gacha machine in the middle of the toy store. He summons Heartless, who go on to pilot the giant mechs and engage Sora and friends, while explaining that this world holds a key to recovering one of the organization's darknesses. The way hearts and bodies interact in this world holds a key. So they pulled apart the world, young Xehanort saying this, they pulled apart the world and made a copy, and he leaves without further explanation, and as Sora and their friends fight off the Heartless. And this fight, Sora can also pilot one of the giant mech toys, which is a really cool specific gameplay mechanic to this world that doesn't show up anywhere else. They didn't have to program that specific gameplay mechanic in there, but they did. And having like a giant Pacific Rim kaiju battle in the toy store in like toy mechs is a really, really cool touch. Post-fight, Buzz is just like fed up with all the nonsense. He's saying that a world can't be split in two. He serves very much as the voice of skepticism and caution, but Woody continues to believe that Sora, Donald, and Goofy are there to help them. But before they can decide on any further choice of what to do, the toy soldiers report in saying that they saw Rex get kidnapped and hauled up to the second floor, and that Ham and the aliens are missing as well. They decide to table the conversation, and Buzz relents, agreeing to let the trio of heroes help rescue their friends. Maybe they'll find some answers along the way as they're rescuing their friends. Using rails that span all 3 floors of the toy store, they get to the second floor and enter a toy store that is themed around action figures and dinosaurs. I guess it would just be just like action figure. It seems like it's a very much like a boy store. They enter cautiously and immediately something feels wrong. Before they can act, however, a gigantic Godzilla-like reptile toy, Heartless, bursts from behind the boxes set up on a display, and the store's metal shutter slams closed behind them, locking them in. You have to fight 3 of these gigantic Godzilla monstrosities in a mini boss fight before a 4th lands behind them in a cutscene. But in a rather comical fashion, Rex somehow ends up flying in circles on one of the planes that's suspended from the ceiling until it snaps and it collides with the Godzilla toy and knocks a Heartless out of it that was controlling it, which Sora makes really, really short work of. So again, we've got giant mechs, we've got giant Godzilla monsters, super cool enemies in this world. Our heroes catch up with Rex. They ask him if he knows where the others were taken, but Rex has no clue at all about what's going on or that anyone else was taken. Luckily, Sarge, the toy soldier leader, finds a way into the store and informs them that Ham and one of his scouts was last seen in the babies and toddlers store before all contact was lost. I don't know how they are talking to each other. Maybe they have walkie-talkies. I don't know. The group decides to use the vents to make their way to their new location, but Rex rather nervously uses his long tail not fitting through the vents as an excuse to go and wait by the entrance, and Buzz encourages him to be on the lookout in case their friends come that way. They make their way through the vents to babies and toddlers, and wondering where to start, Sarge mentions that his man mentioned something about music, leading the group to investigate a corner of the store that sports like an orchestra made of frogs. It looks like it's like frogs playing instruments. Woody and Sora start running on the record player when Sora notices one of the instruments sounds off, and after investigating a frog playing a tuba, Sora pulls Sarge's missing soldier out. The missing soldier tells everyone that he located Ham, but was grabbed by a giant hand and stuffed in the tuba before he could do anything. They end up locating Ham in the dollhouse, but before they can rescue him, they are confronted by another possessed toy. Just massive, creepy, scary-looking, like, Addams Family doll that marks like another mini boss fight. The Heartless in this world are really cool because they can possess the different toys, such as like action figures and stuff, balls, dolls, etc., and they will do so in regular battles. You can defeat the possessing Heartless before they do that, and it makes the fights easier. But they can possess toys, they can drive the mechs. It's really, really cool. Sora defeats the Heartless possessing the doll, and they all make for the open window with the rescued Ham. But Buzz hesitates. It's very clear that the possession of innocent toys by the Heartless is taking a toll on him, and he worries out loud if they could end up like those other toys. But Woody reassures him and rallies the troops as they prepare to search for the aliens, and Ham heads back to the store entrance with Rex. As luck would just happen to have it, they spot a UFO flying by as they're leaving babies and toddlers, and Woody immediately is like, I know where the aliens are, follow the UFO, which makes sense. Long story short, after another mini boss fight, we rescue the aliens. With all their friends accounted for, Woody and Buzz decide the best thing for them to do is return to Andy's room. Well disappointed, Sora agrees that this is probably for the best, stating that the organization is their problem, and they go to see off their new friends at the toy store entrance. Of course, when we get back to the entrance with everyone, Rex is gone again. God damn it, Rex. But this time, Ham said he went up to the video game store to find something to prove to Buzz that he can trust Sora. The toys decide to team up with Sora, Donald and Goofy one last time to go and retrieve Rex. Once again. Upon getting to the video game store, they find Rex, who shows Buzz a copy of the Verum Rex video game with the Yozora character on the front, and this seems to be enough to convince both him and Woody that they are toys from the video game. Before they can leave, however, young Xehanort appears to block their exit, and one of the puppet Heartless that can control toys ends up possessing Buzz as he begins to fire his very real laser at his companions. As the toys try to hold Buzz back and Goofy defends Woody, Sora tries to strike at young Xehanort over and over, who simply instant transmissions away each time Sora tries to make contact. And this is where we get young Xehanort, of course, expositing the reason. Lots of exposition in all these worlds. Explains his purpose in the world.
In this world, toys have hearts. And those hearts come from a powerful bond. So what happens when those bonds are stretched to their limit? When they are worlds apart, can cloth and plastic hold on to their hearts? All I needed was a wedge to widen the divide. Someone like you to fill them with distrust and doubt. And that chasm you created can be filled with a vast darkness. Witness it for yourself.
Sora tries one last strike to hit young Xehanort, but he effortlessly grabs Sora by the arm, lifts him off the ground, and blasts him with an orb of darkness, sending him flying into the TV screen where he disappears into a video game that is a Verum Rex spinoff with the robots that feature in the game, I guess. This just leads us to a minigame where you pilot a mech to destroy a bunch of robots, as many robots as possible, and attain a high score. This part's interesting because young Xehanort kind of gives a Kingdom Heartsy reason as to why the toys are alive. It's the bond between the toys and the humans that give the toys a heart. So I think that's kind of a cool way of explaining it. It makes sense in Kingdom Hearts terms. It kind of fits in nicely with the narrative of Toy Story, I guess. But anyways, Sora escapes the video game. He regroups with his friends and the toys in the video game store. Buzz is still missing. He disappeared into a dark portal opened by Xehanort. Their objective is clear. They have to rescue Buzz, and Sarge offers some great intel, mentioning how they saw a shadowy portal in the Kid Corral. They manage to locate the dark portal and enter this room that is just filled with shadow and darkness. Xehanort proceeds to taunt them as he is wont to do, but Woody responds with one of the most epic verbal beatdowns of a Kingdom Hearts villain by a Disney character in the entire series. And Sora joins in, chastising Xehanort for being so obsessed with the darkness that he forgets the light that casts the shadows.
Whatever you're talking about, I don't care. Put Buzz back the way he was, then get lost.
Or else what, toy?
Yeah, I am a toy. And a friend. My guess is no one's ever loved you before. Because you know nothing about hearts and love.
There are hearts all around us, trying to connect. Your loneliness only made Woody and Buzz's connection stronger. That's the heart's true nature, to never ever let go. Wherever they are, Andy and the other toys haven't let go either.
Yeah, you can't keep us from Andy. We're going home no matter what. And taking Buzz.
Xehanort, you're so caught up in finding the shadows, you forgot about the light that cast them.
Oh, it's great. I'll probably put in the cutscene here, but it's just such a verbal beatdown. He argues that even if Xehanort physically separates the toys from Andy, their hearts are still connected, and that isn't something that can be broken by distance. And again, fucking awesome for Sora, because he's really finding his voice these past few games. Sora spent like the first 3 games, Kingdom Hearts 1, Chain of Memories, and Kingdom Hearts 2, just like being talked at by the villains, not knowing what's going on, just being taken advantage of. And in Dream Drop Distance and Kingdom Hearts 3, even though in Dream Drop, Sora got screwed over and basically fell into their trap, he's been like talking back. He's found his voice. Like, he's not letting the Xehanorts like tell him these like lies and BS anymore. Like, he knows what's going on with everything, and he knows what he's experienced and what he's believed, and the connections that share the bonds of hearts and all this stuff. Like, he knows all this. So he's really finding his voice and starting to just like talk back to these villains. This outburst causes the Dark Link holding Buzz to break, and Sora, Donald, and Goofy rush young Xehanort while Woody uses his pull string to kind of swing over and grab Buzz out of the air. Buzz comes to his senses, and they seem to have young Xehanort surrounded, but even though he appears to have lost, he says that this world proved that a heart can be placed in a vessel of his choosing, and that is a valuable lesson. I'm guessing that by him saying he possessed Buzz, maybe. Before he leaves, he summons the boss Heartless of this world, the King of Toys, as he makes his escape. Again, this boss fight is so cool. The King of Toys is a flying UFO ship like Heartless, and this battle takes place in an arena that's filled with like toy blocks and houses and Lego skyscrapers, and the floor is like one of those carpets with the roads on it and town, just like when you were a kid. It's so cool. And the boss fight really takes advantage of the size of the map. Again, making another great themed boss fight. The Toy Box world is the best world in this game, hands down. Like, I won't even try and like hide the suspense. Everything from the themes of this world. Maybe it's a little bit silly that the young Xehanort like split the world into 2 copies. Whatever. Everything about this world, from the theme, it fits in so perfectly with the story of Toy Story. All the enemies, you get to drive the mechs. This boss fight, it's so good. After the fight, the gang all regroups at the entrance to the toy store and they say some goodbyes. The toys know that they haven't found their way back to their part of the world just yet, but know if they follow their connection to Andy, in their hearts, they will find their way back. In the meantime, they will stay in this world so they can see Sora and the others again. Woody and Buzz wish them the best of luck on their hunt for the organization. Buzz apologizes to Sora for being so suspicious and dismissive, and with that, our heroes take leave of another world, ready to continue their adventure wherever they end up next. After our adventures in the Toy Box wrap up, Mickey and Riku we transition back to Mickey and Riku, who are still in Hollow Bastion / Radiant Garden. They decide to meet up with Ienzo and ask him about the replicas. Ienzo tells them that Vexen was responsible for the replica program and that he didn't regain consciousness right away when Axel Lee found him. When they went to check on him, he was just gone and they couldn't find any trace of him anywhere. As they ponder this information, Mickey comes to the conclusion that Evan must have been taken by the organization because they could, in theory, use replicas to fill out their ranks, which we kind of deduce that from Sora's earlier conversations with Ienzo that they might be using replicas, and just some of the stuff that young Xehanort told us too in the Toy Box level kind of led us to believe that this might be the direction that they're choosing to go, to bring the hearts of their members through time and put them in replicas in this current moment, which is interesting. Thankfully, though, we don't have to wait long to discover Evan / Vexen's fate, however, as the next scene transitions us to the Keyblade Graveyard, where the 13 stone pillars have been erected from the ground in a circle, similar to the throne room of the organization that we've seen before. Saïx is speaking to a hooded figure who is pretty obviously Vexen or Evan, whatever they're calling him this time. Probably Vexen since he's part of the organization now, it seems. Saïx, who we haven't seen since Kingdom Hearts 2, seems to be one of the members of Organization 13 as well. He appears to be back. Saïx is questioning Vexen's intentions in returning to the organization, and he states that he only cares about his research, and whether he's human or not, or whether he's human or nobody, that doesn't matter to him at all. He very much just wants to finish his replica research. That's all that he cares about. And he says this. He's eager to continue his research. He references his betrayal at the hands of Axel as reason for rejoining the organization. He also boasts that when his research on replicas is complete, they will replace, not just replicate, they will become as real as any human, indistinguishable. This is welcome news by Saïx, whose comment suggests that the organization intends to use replicas to help deliver the final vessel. Alright guys, so with that scene in the Keyblade Graveyard with Saïx and Vexen talking about the replica program, I checked my recording time and I'm at a little bit over an hour. I'd say about an hour 10 in, and after I do some edits and insert some cutscenes, it'll probably be a little bit longer than that. My intention was to get through all of the Disney worlds in this episode, and after an hour and 10 minutes, just covering 3 worlds and the events in between, we still have 4 worlds left to go. We have Monstropolis, we have Pirates of the Caribbean, we have San Francisco from Big Hero 6, and we have Arendelle from Frozen. And there's stuff that happens in between all of those worlds. So this could be like a 2.5 hour, 3 hour episode. So I think what I'm going to do is just to make this information a little bit more palatable, because there are Kingdom Hearts things happening in between the Disney worlds. To keep this information palatable, I'm going to leave this as a shorter episode and split this into even more episodes. So episode 2, this episode, will have covered our adventures in Twilight Town, our adventures in the Kingdom of Corona, and our adventures in the Toy Box, the Toy Story world, and cover all this information in between that we've gotten. So I'll take this time now to kind of summarize the things that we've learned in this portion of the adventure, and then the next episode will cover the rest of the Disney worlds. So we set off on our adventure. Sora pays a visit to Twilight Town because his goal, aside from the power of waking, is to figure out how to bring Roxas back. And everything right now seems like it is revolving around the replica program. Vexen is missing. Vexen was the original researcher on the replica program at Castle Oblivion during Chain of Memories, when he was ultimately betrayed by Axel and killed after he was defeated by Sora. A replica is a vessel, and that is mostly what we know about. It is a vessel that can hold a heart, and when a person's heart is put inside of it, the replica takes on the visage, the appearance of the person whose heart it is. This seems to be pretty useful. This seems to be a solution that we can use, that Sora can use to get Roxas back. That's kind of the catalyst of where the replicas come into play. Roxas's heart exists within Sora. If Sora can find a way to get it out of him and find a replica, Roxas can then have his own body and be his own person, because a replica basically turns into a human body when you put a heart in it. And when you think about the physiology of the Kingdom Hearts universe, that's really all a body is a vessel. I mean, that's really all it is. The things that compose a person are their heart and soul, which I don't know how the soul aspect comes into play with that, but I don't want to think about it too hard. But a body is essentially a vessel for your heart. So it makes sense that if you had a human like structure, vessel thing that can turn into a body, I guess maybe this is a way of explaining the way that the members of the organization can travel through time and have bodies. But it's clear that most of the organization is assembled. They need the replica for their final member. We're not really sure what the final member is. And Xehanort kind of alludes to that in the Toy Story world. One of the more interesting things in this part too is we run into Marluxia in Kingdom of Corona, which we talked about towards the top of the episode. And he makes this allusion to the new 7 Princesses of Heart, right? So it seems that there are new 7 Princesses of Heart. When the original 7 Princesses of Heart fulfilled their duty, they passed on the light. It was their time guarding the light was done, which makes sense. You figure that maybe that would pass from person to person, from generation to generation, if that's such an important role, if that's such an important job. And it makes sense that Disney would want their newer princesses to be in the forefront. So we kind of get this side plot of the new 7 Princesses of Heart, and Rapunzel happens to be one of them. That makes sense. She's one of the new faces of the more modern Disney. So they would want her to kind of fill that role that their old princesses did in the older games. And they're doing that. They're identifying and keeping an eye on the 7 Princesses of Heart, so that in case Sora, Riku, all of them fail to gather the Guardians of Light, the organization can basically just use the 7 Princesses of Heart as their 7 lights. They'll have their 13 darknesses, and they can forge the Keyblade that way. I don't know why they wouldn't just want to do that in the first place and insist on fighting the 7 Guardians. It seems a little... There's a lot going on here that when you really start to squint at the breadcrumbs were being laid out, doesn't really make a lot of sense, and I'm kind of upset by it. I don't want to give away too many of my thoughts about the end of the story, but those are kind of the main things that are going on right now. So we've met Marluxia and young Xehanort, who are in the new organization. Marluxia is kind of identifying new princesses. Young Xehanort is working on this experiment of hearts and vessels, and they need Vexen for that, because Vexen was the replica program researcher. This puts the advantage squarely in the hands of Organization 13, who can use that replica to get their 13th member that they appear to be missing. This leaves Sora and Yenzo without a way to get a body for Roxas, and still, Sora has not identified what would give him the power of waking to even be able to release Roxas's heart, get his heart back to him, I don't know. But that's kind of where we are here. And we'll leave off with that Keyblade graveyard scene with Syx, Evan, and all that kind of stuff that we discovered. Next time we'll pick up at Monstropolis. There's some interesting stuff that happens in the Monsters, Inc. world, and we have a ton more information to get through before we actually get through the Disney worlds proper. I just think this will be a lot better way of breaking up the episodes. You don't want to, like... Listening to me narrate Disney shit at you for 2.5 hours is not exciting. So I think keeping this one short, keeping the next one, will probably be a little bit longer just because we'll be covering 4 worlds and some information. So having part 3 be that portion, and then part 4 being the showdown with the organization and the conclusion of the story, I think that'll go a lot better because, like I said, the story's bigger than Kingdom Hearts 2, and I did Kingdom Hearts 2 in 4 parts. So it's only logical that this would be bigger. So this is going to do it for part 2. We got some interesting information. We can start to kind of see the plot threads and the direction that the story is going, even though it feels messier. It doesn't feel as clean. It doesn't feel as tight as I've made some of the other Kingdom Hearts narrative seem. So just keep all that stuff in the back of your mind, and I will have the 3rd part of the Disney Worlds up as soon as I possibly can. But for now, we're going to wrap it up here. If you'd like to get in touch with the show, find out what's going on with the Unlockables, talk to me about any of this stuff that you've heard on this episode or any episodes of the show, you can go on over to linktr.ee/Unlockables podcast and find all the wonderful social media stuff there. You can join the Discord server. It's getting a little more lively in there. I've made more of an attempt to make it a little bit more lively, get some more conversation going in there. So you can talk to us about Kingdom Hearts. We have a Nomura Shrine if you want to praise the patron saint of the show, Tetsuya Nomura. And you can follow me on Instagram, on Twitter, all that good stuff. But that's where you can find me. And I think there are links to the show on Spotify there too. I use Spotify for podcasters. So that's just what I default link is the default place to go. But the show's available on any podcatcher that you want to listen to it to. So that's going to do it for this episode. So before I go, I'll leave you guys with the customary outros of my show and of Guiding Keys. Remember, it's not just the story of video games, it's the story of you. And may your heart be your guiding key.